Adjudicator, the first speaker from the proposition has just invited us into a very tiny, very academic and very sterile world version of this world. It's a world where the complex, messy and deeply human act of politics can be solved with the cold, simple logic of a standardized test. A world where a high score equals a good governance. An adjudicator, while we appreciate the intellectual appeal of such a simple solution, we on the opposition have to stand here today and tell you that this proposal is not just flawed on its premise, it is a blueprint for our democratic catastrophe. It is a policy so disconnected from the reality of power, of people and of Indonesia's history that is frankly astonishing. It is being proposed here today. Our stance is simple and it is absolute. The only legitimate test a leader's competence is the one conducted by the people in an election. Everything else is just a more polite form of tyranny. Today I'm going to do three things to make that case crystal clear. First, I will do some rebuttal and show you why the very foundation of their case, their definition of competence, is fundamentally broken. Second, I will bring you to our first substantive point, explaining how this test is not a filter for quality but a weapon for elite gatekeeping. And finally, I will bring you our second substantive point, outlining the world of corruption, chaos and paralysis that their policy will inevitably create. So first, let's go directly to the heart of their case. This fantasy that a test can identify a good politician. They believe that competence is about knowing things, and that's a start. But their model produces a perfect minister of finance and is completely incapable of producing a Nelson Mandela or a Bung Karno leaders whose power came from moral authority and a deep human connection, not a test score. Their test has a massive character blind spot. We have to ask them which question on your exam measures integrity. How do you score a candidate on their courage to resist corruption? The most dangerous political figures are often the most intelligent. They know exactly how to manipulate the system that this test would certify them to run, and it has a built wisdom. Blind spot adjudicators. Politics is not a science. It is about the art of balancing in irreconcilable differences. It is the wisdom to know when to compromise, the humility to know when you are wrong, the empathy to feel the struggles of people who live lives know when you completely different from your own. Their test creates technocrats. We need leaders. The proposition models fails to distinguish between the two, and that is the first fatal flaw. But let's assume for a moment that they could create this magical test. This brings me to our very first substantive argument. This policy is not a blueprinting for creating a new, oppressive, and entirely unaccountable political elite. Let's walk through this reality of this. Step by step, a community of experts is formed in Jakarta. This committee will write the test. Now, who are they? They are the establishment, and who will whisper in their ear? Incumbent political parties, powerful business lobbies, ideological think tanks, all ensuring the test reflects their interests. The test is politically compromised before a single question is written. And who does this test systematically disqualify? It disqualifies the leader who emerged from the ground up. So the daughter of a fisherman from the Pantura, who has organized her entire community to fight illegal trawling and understand our maritime issues better than anyone in Jakarta, is told she's not qualified because she can write an essay from the 18th century political theory. Former labor activist from Bekasi, for example, who has fought for workers' rights his entire life, is told he's not qualified. The other community leader from Sumatra, for example, who holds generational wisdom, is told he's not qualified. But the son of a party official, for example, fresh out of a university with a political science degree and access to the best private tutors, he gets a passing grade and is waved through. Adjudicators, let's call this is what it is. It is a gate, it is a wall built around the halls of power to keep ordinary people out. It is a modern, sophisticated version of the literacy test used throughout history to deny people political rights. The impact is just not unfair. It is a throughout history to deny people their political rights. The impact is not just unfair, it is a catastrophic loss. of real-world expertise, of local knowledge, and of an authentic connection between the people and their government. It guarantees a political class that is more privileged but more uniform and more dangerously out of touch than ever before. But adjudicator, it gets so much worse. Let's move to our second substantive point and analyze the world of chaos that this policy actually creates. Let's talk about the inevitable corruption and paralysis of the system itself. The proposition was so focused on the real ideal outcome that they failed to consider what a human being will do in the real world when faced with this system. First, you get a new black market for political power. At this moment, the moment this test becomes the key to a political career, the test question themselves become the most valuable community in the country. They will be leaked, they will be sold. We are not creating a meritocracy, we are creating a new form of corruption where wealth and competence buys you a passing grade. Second, you get a perverse incentive structure for our political parties. You will no longer scout for visionary leaders, they will scout for the best test takers. They will create tutoring centers for politics. We will get a generation of politicians who are brilliant at cramming for an exam, but who never organize a community, never build a consensus, never face a real crisis. They will be experts on paper and novices at leadership. And finally, you get a complete legal and political paralysis. Imagine the chaos after every election. Every candidate who falls behind the test will sue. They will clock out into the constitutional court for years, arguing the test was biased, the grading was flawed, the passing score was arbitrary. The proposition talks about what is stability. Their model guarantees that no election result will ever be truly stable or legitimate again. It creates permanent, grinding legal warfare that undermines the very democracy they claim to be improving. So, adjudicator, let's pull all of this together. The proposition has presented a proposal based on a fantasy definition of competence. They have produced a system that in reality will be a tool for elite gatekeeping. They have proposed a mechanism that will birth new forms of corruption and paralyze our entire political system. Their case is not just wrong, it is irresponsible, it is admission of failure, it is a declaration that they have lost faith in the foundational principle of our nation. The sovereignty rests in political system. Their case is not just wrong, it is irresponsible. We on the opposition have not lost that faith. We believe the answer to the problem of democracy is always more democracy, better education, a freer press, stronger communities. We believe in trusting people. They want to put their trust in a test. We will put our trust in the wisdom of Indonesian people today and always. For those reasons, we could not be prouder to oppose. Thank you.